talking about how you guys, when you started, were more on the same page. And I think part of that is being all Armenian guys, all behind different Armenian causes, which was totally different at the time. And there's no other band really like you guys in terms of that, in terms of culturally. But I think it sounds like to me, I mean, System of a Down is known as more of a left-wing band. It's just the way it is. And as you said earlier on, there was probably just a difference in politics in America at the time. But as I guess politics has gotten more heated, how everything has become politicized, I keep up with what you do. I keep up with what the band does. And it's like, you'll say something in an interview and I'll see that Serge will say like, John's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about type of thing. It'll get on Blabbermouth. Maybe this will get on Blabbermouth and all those sites. But
said that I don't think Serge has ever said that I'm an idiot.
But I think he's said things about you going out and like being vocal about supporting Trump, right?
Yeah, well, he doesn't like Trump, and that's fine. That's his prerogative to like Trump or not like Trump. It doesn't matter for me what he likes. You know, like it's important for me that he has a right to like what he likes and to vote the way his conscience tells him to vote. My problem, a lot of left-leaning people and in general, or super right-leaning people as well, is that you have to make your determinations based on the situation. And you know, politics change, policies change. You know, somebody like AOC would be unelectable 20 years ago. So if you look at the Democrat Party 20 years ago, it was a very different party than it is today in a lot of ways. You know, like the attempt to confiscate our guns and to take away our rights to have them has been going on for a long time. And, you know, they chip away at, you know, this bump stock can't be had anymore or whatever, you know, but at the end of the day, you have this constant tug of war that's taking place. And what I liked about Trump and what I still like about Trump, and the reason that I would vote for Trump again, should he run, you know, it looks like he is going to, but should he get elected as the nominee for the Republican Party, is that he, at the very least, thinks differently. It's very difficult to change policy for a country like the United States. But if you can have somebody that goes in with intentions that are a little bit different and is still looking at like the next 50 years, 75 years in the future, because more often than not, if you have a CEO in a company or a politician that comes in, they're really concerned only with their tenure, you know, making it successful on the time that they're there. And then after that, if they put policies in place that make it look good in the beginning, and then 20 years later, the country falls apart, you know, did they do their job, or did they just you know, they satisfied their own needs in the short term, made themselves very rich in the short term, and then we all pay the price, or our kids pay the price in the future, you know? So I think what a lot of people do, not just liberals, but people in general, is that they put themselves in the corner. You know, you've had the philosophy for so long, you've thought this way for so long, that now, even if the information comes along that says maybe you weren't 100% right on everything, it's very difficult for you to change course, you know? And I think my singer in a lot of ways has done that. He's put himself in this corner where he supports the Democratic Party wholeheartedly, without looking at like some of the negatives of the Democratic Party. I 100% believe that if not the Democratic Party, certain elements within it funded all the uprisings that took place, you know, around the time that the elections were happening. And
yeah, the reason. Oh, keep going. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, the reason that I bring all this up, and that I was bringing the back and forth, and as you correctly said, I mean, no one name called like that, but I think you guys have had back and forth on things. What I was just wondering as a fan, and I think a lot of people might be wondering, is like the difference in politics and how things have changed. Is that the reason we haven't seen a System of a Down album in 15 plus years?
No, that's got nothing to do with it. And
okay.
Sit down and have a discussion about politics, and be okay with walking away and having a difference of opinion, you know, if we happen to have one. That's got nothing to do with it. You know, we were much more in line in 2005 when we made our last album. Serge hasn't really wanted to be in the band for a long time, and quite frankly, we probably should have parted ways around 2006. We tried to get together multiple times to make an album, but there were certain rules set in place that made it difficult to do so and maintain the integrity of what System of a Down stood for. So we couldn't really come together and agree. And part of that is Serge's fault, and part of that is my fault, and Shabos and Darren's as well. But at the end of the day, if you have a majority of the band thinking one way and one person thinking the other, it's very difficult to come together and make music if that person is important. And every member of this band is very important to the overall sound of the band. And you'll know this by listening to anybody's side projects. They're never quite that good compared to System. In fact, I think a lot of them aren't very good at all. And, when you compare that to what we do together as System, you understand why the team matters, and having certain talents come together and merge matter, and that magic that you can capture doing that matters. No matter what, Darren is one of the best songwriters I've ever seen in my life. What he does with Scars will never be on the same level or league as System. That doesn't mean Scars is bad. It just means it's not System, because at the end of the day, he doesn't have me playing drums. He doesn't have Shavo playing bass and bringing in certain riffs and adding to Darren's music. And he doesn't have Serge bringing his melody and lyrics into the play. So it's all those things that make us System. But going back to the politics thing, yeah, I don't give a shit what anybody's politics are. There's room for everybody's politics. I just want you to be as accepting as mine as I am of yours, and you can hate my politics if you want, but just listen to it because you might gain some perspective.
For sure. When you say that you guys should have broken up at that time, I mean, then what's your perspective on? Because I'm going to mention it. So you feel that you guys should not have made new music, or?
I think we should have moved on. And if Serge didn't want to be in the band at that time, we should have just moved on and done it with somebody else. But that's what happens when you're loyal and you really want to make it work. You'll put up with things that may be detrimental to the health of the band or the health of the situation. Maybe it would have been better if we moved on and got another singer for an album or two and continued to make music and brought Serge back later if he wanted to come back. That probably would have been better. But as it is, I think we wasted 15, maybe 20 years of our lives waiting.
Yeah. My question on that I was going to ask, though, is, I mean, you guys still do live appearances, and I was going to say you're doing the Sick New World, not festival, the Sick New World show, basically. I mean, it's an amazing lineup with Korn, Deftones, Incubus, Turnstile. I mean, it's a million bands to name. Chevelle, you guys are headlining. So, I mean, how do you feel doing these shows with Serge and doing the shows that you guys have continued to do as a band and as a whole?
When we're actually on stage, it's great. It's just getting to that point that is disheartening. We have one show booked for next year. One show. That's it.
Is that by design, though? I'm a fan of bands like, for example, Glassjaw, right? And Glassjaw, I don't know if you know them, but they'll do a handful of shows every year. They'll go away for a couple of years. They'll come back, and there's still like that momentum for them. I know that they do other things that, like yourself, they have families. Justin Beck runs that Merch Direct website. I believe that's the one he runs. So for you, is that just you guys getting older and not having the time to do a full tour and not wanting to be on the road like a Metallica?
I think we would like to be working a lot more, but Serge also has a bad back now. Like, he's messed up his back somehow. And he just doesn't want to tour as much as the rest of us do. So look, if my wife told me that we were going to have sex once a year, I'd be divorced.
It's a good analogy.
So you figure that out, for what it is. But I don't think this is sustainable. The rest of us want to work a lot more than he does. Now, I don't know if that means we're just going to break up and forget about it and call it a career, or if we're going to move forward with somebody else, or if Serge is going to come around. Ultimately, the best case scenario for me is Serge comes around and we can do like 15, 20 shows a year. even that would be enough, you know? Like we'd be able to go to places that we haven't gone in a long time and play in front of fans that have never seen us play. That's important to me. You know, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. It's really, even talking about system kind of bums me out, because I know what our potential is. And I know that if we make an album, you know, it'll be fantastic because we have songs that have been ready for 5, 6 years now. We just have to go in and record them, you know. And I don't know if that's going to happen or not. And it's to me, that's like, you only get one shot at life, you know, and make the best of it. And we, you know, look at Tom Brady. He's like
Still
cleaning
going.
football. It's I believe that his relationship was over when he won the last Super Bowl, and Giselle came up to him like, right, you know, the first thing she said was basically, you know, to the effect of, you have nothing left to prove, you know, like basically quit. Instead of letting him have his moment, she had to throw that in there. And I think their relationship ended at that moment, you know. And I don't know either of them, so I don't know what their, you know, what their marriage was like, but I know that that would be disheartening to me, you know. And I would, you know, really, you couldn't have said that maybe in 2 days or tomorrow or after the parade, or, you know, when we're in Costa Rica in a week, you know, like there's a time and place for everything, you know. So um I don't know why I brought up. Oh yeah, Tom Brady. Like the guy's doing everything he can to stay in this. He's still got the passion, even if his body's not reacting quite the way it used to. And I personally think he's going to end up in Las Vegas next year, playing for the Raiders. Even though I love the team that we have, you know, and I think our quarterback's great, but I think he's going to end up here. And I I imagine he'll get to 12 Super Bowls and quit. That's what I think is going to.
The thing with you guys, and I want to, you know, continue with that, is there's so few bands that have the original lineup, and you guys still have that original lineup of what was on the first album. It's the classic lineup, and it sounds like for you, not just being on the road, you're thirsty to do new music as well, and not be a nostalgia act in the same realm as Guns N' Roses. And as a Guns N' Roses fan for years, people are like, when are we going to hear new music? And then they finally reunite with Slash and Duff. And it's like, when are we going to hear new songs? And they put out these 2 songs that sound like they're reworks of stuff that Axl was doing prior. And people do wonder, why can't these guys just get back in a room and make a new album? It's just the
Well,
pressure that it's not going to be on the level of Appetite for Destruction or Use Your Illusion. And people probably wonder that with System.
it probably won't be very good, number one. And number two, and this is part of the fear, I guess, of a lot of bands like us who haven't put out an album in so long, is that like, yeah, the last thing they heard was 25 years ago, right? For Guns N' Roses. Forget about that Chinese democracy crap. I'm talking about like real Guns
I
N'
love
Roses.
that album, but okay.
Not Guns N' Roses. It's Axl, you know, and that's fine. But the point is, if System comes out today and we make an album, it could be the best thing we've ever done. It could be, in our opinion, like the next level and all that. And people could look at it like, nah, no, it sucks, right? I like Toxicity. You know, I want to hear Toxicity. But you gotta have these albums coming out every 2 or 3 years so that your audience grows with you as you grow older and your motivations change, and you know, some of the fire dissipates, but then you have passion for other things, and they're going along that ride with you, so that it's not like this massive shock of, you went from this 35-year-old person to a 50-year-old person, right? Like there's a difference in the perception that these people have and their outlooks on life and everything else. I don't think the way I thought 30 years ago and everything, you know, like some things, but not everything, you know. And your music represents that, you know, as you grow older and wiser, and you know, there's the balance of that wisdom coming in, and then some of the fire that you had, the passion, is overtaken by that wisdom, you know, like, and your music will represent that as well. And We don't have that. We have this whole era of nothing, you know? So, but like I said, the songs that we do have, they're gonna fuck people up, dude. I mean, we still have it, you know, and it's just a matter of, are we ever gonna be able to show it? You know,
Is
so
part of the problem that, let's just say you guys do put out a new album and it's the best thing you've ever done. Just as someone who observes the music industry, no matter how good this album is, it will never be as big as Toxicity, because that type of music is no longer played on radio, and there really is no rock radio, and there is no MTV playing rock videos. Like, there's no market for what was a giant thing in the late 90s and early 2000s.
yeah, it's different now, you know, like we're about as far removed as the music industry as it gets. You know, we don't have a slightest clue of how to put out an album, or if albums are even the way to do it these days. You know, like you just put out songs the way you did in the '50s. I don't even know. I wouldn't know where to begin. But that's not my problem. That's not my problem. That's for somebody else to figure out. My job is to go in and write drums that make these songs sound as good as possible. That's going to be my focus. I don't give two shits about what the marketing of it is, how it's going to get out there. The people are going to gravitate towards it. They're going to enjoy it, and then there are going to be other people that don't. You know, and my purpose is strictly to make the songs as good as possible, and then to give it out to the world. That's it.
What do the new songs sound like if they ever get recorded?
They're gonna Anybody making music today, like all the well-known bands, they're gonna understand why System is what System is. Let's just put it that way.
That's
We're gonna
cool.
we're gonna remind them.
I'm dying to hear it, and I think a lot of other people are too.
Me too.